Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And I thought this episode of NXT was excellent. I have said time and time again that when I feel like NXT has a sense of purpose, they are on point. And seeing as how close we are to NXT TakeOver San Antonio, you could see they were fully focused on that. I enjoyed the contract signing segment. I feel like the women's division is doing great. The tag team division is especially intriguing to me. And there were other matches added to this card that I just cannot wait for that we'll get into throughout the show. Ashton, what did you think of NXT tonight?
So happy that we're getting multiple storylines in the various divisions that we didn't really have before. We've got more than one storyline in the tag division. We've got more than one storyline in the women's division. And this is the kind of NXT that I've been hoping for well over a year now that I feel like we haven't really had.
I completely agree, and it couldn't have come at a better time because we know that we are beginning the drought of Lucha Underground content, at least that's new from El Rey. I know they're doing reruns, and the creators are kind of doing Lucha Facts, trying to keep us all satiated, which we appreciate. But it's nice that NXT is stepping its game up when there aren't going to be any formal Lucha Underground reviews for a while. And yeah, I thought this was NXT really putting its best foot forward. But I want to get right into this review. So, are there any other preliminary remarks you want to make?
Well, it's nice that NXT is stepping its game up, but unfortunately, it's also worth noting that we have a takeover coming up, which means that for 4 weeks after the takeover, we're not going to be talking about NXT.
That's right. So Wednesdays will probably just be very, clear off the calendar. But we'll be back on it.
On that same note, though, NXT's first week after the takeover is also our first week back to reviewing Raws and SmackDowns.
So we'll be right back in the saddle with everything. Yeah, it actually times out quite perfectly.
Ourselves to have a break, people.
Exactly. So with that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. No heats of the night, no nitpicks. Ashton, what about you?
Think I have any heats of the night because this was a really, really good show. But I do want to complain about one individual performer later on, but it's not like heat of the night worthy, so I'll just wait until we get to that segment to complain about it.
Fair enough. All right, with that said, let us get right into our NXT review. And partner, how do we open this baby up?
We open this baby up with a match, actually. Nikki Cross comes out with her full sanity gear and entrance and all that stuff with the other guys, and she has a match against an unknown female, sort of a local talent named Kennadi Lewis.
Yeah, what'd you think of this match, man?
There really wasn't much to think. This was a full-blown squash match. Normally when we get these kinds of matches, I like to kind of scout the person that's getting beat up to try and tell if I think they're really good or not, but I don't feel like Kennadi Lewis really had much of an opportunity to show anything tonight, so I can't even say that.
Yeah, I will agree with you there. I like this match if for no other reason. I like the imagery of Nikki Cross taking out a much bigger opponent in Kennadi Lewis because you could see the size disparity, and it made Nikki Cross almost look Badger-like on offense. And also, as a quick side note, I do like the Fisherman neckbreaker that she uses as a finisher. That used to be Tyson Kidd's finisher before he unfortunately got put on the shelf. I think it's a good look for her. And yeah, to me, she's one of the most interesting parts of Sanity right now because I'm just so into the women's division as a whole. Obviously, those character flaws we've talked about, but they didn't really annoy me this week. I don't really think they were on full display. So yeah, good outing for Nikki Cross, and that's all I can say about this match because it was so short.
It was a really quick match. Nikki Cross picks up the big win. I actually missed the finish, so I'm glad you pointed out that it was a Fisherman neckbreaker because I was not able to see that. But yeah, hot tonight, and this was the beginning of that hot streak. But then we go backstage and we get an interview with No Way Jose. And it's actually the new interviewer woman. I don't know her name yet. I'm going to have to figure it out because she did both, maybe even more than two. There might have been three backstage interviews tonight, and I had no clue what her name was, so I couldn't write that down. But No Way Jose says that he's going to have fun in 2017, and it's going to be a fiesta. But then Kona Reeves, a.k.a. Noah Kikoa, a.k.a. Noah Potgis, because apparently they have no clue what they want this dude's name to be, shows up. And he's mad that Jose didn't come out to help him when Sanity attacked him, even though he came out to help Swan when Sanity attacked him. So we've got some beef here. And Jose straight up says, all right, man, well, we can go out to the ring, and it can either be a fiesta or it can be a fight. And Kona smiles and walks away. So probably safe to assume, even though it was not officially announced, that we're going to get Kona Reeves versus No Way Jose next week in a regular old one-on-one singles match.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm perfectly fine with that. I think Kona Reeves has a very unique look. And you know what? I like that the motivation for starting a feud is so simple. You help this one guy, but you didn't help me. Kona feels slighted about that, and now he's taking umbrage with it with Jose. Perfectly simple premise to start a feud. Let's see how these two work together. And again, in terms of fresh talent, it's good to see NXT putting its best foot forward in 2017. This is the kind of stuff I like.
Man, yeah, this is some good stuff. But then we get another interview. This is the Revival, and they don't really have a chance to say much because they're just kind of complaining oh, we're going to get DIY versus the Authors of Pain, but it should be a triple threat with us in it. And then TM61 show up, and TM61 point out, guys, all you're doing lately is just kind of complaining and bitching and moaning about everything, and you're not getting a shot when you clearly lost the opportunity to be in the championship match last week. And the Revival says, you know what? The problem here is that we're top guys, and you guys are bottom feeders. And then they make it clear in their match tonight that they aren't just going to embarrass them.
Yeah. Now, partner, you seemed really giddy about the prospect of this program, TM61 and the Revival. So what did you think about this talking segment before we got into the in-ring action later in the night?
Yeah, the thing is, I am a huge fan of TM61, way more than most people are.
Right.
I feel like I am, if you were to make a scale of people who what their opinions are of TM61, ranging from hate to apathy to love, I'm probably in the top 5%.
Right.
How much I love these guys. I think they're awesome. To me, I see I think of these guys as the New Age Outlaws without the catchphrases, and if Road Dogg could actually wrestle and wasn't a drug addict.
Right. Okay. All right.
Honestly, because really Nick Miller really does remind me of Billy Gunn quite a bit, but Shane Thorne would have happened if it was Edge and Christian and the New Age Outlaws, but the best part of both teams got together, and it was Edge and Billy Gunn.
Okay.
Because I see Shane Thorne as that Edge level talent where he's got the look, he's got the charisma, he's great in the ring, he's a risk taker. He is a 5-star performer to me. And Nick Miller is a solid 3 or 4-star performer. The only thing he's really missing is the charisma. But he's big, he's got a good look, he's great in the ring, he's a great worker. He really does, he's another Billy Gunn to me. And the thing is, everyone always says, oh, Dolph Ziggler is Billy Gunn 2.0, but Dolph is 4 inches and 30 pounds smaller than Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn was huge, and Dolph Ziggler is a smaller guy. Nick Miller is huge. Nick Miller is a really big dude. If I had to guess, I'd say he's probably 6'3" and somewhere around 260. He's a bigger guy. And because you kind of have that dynamic there, I love these guys. I think that there's a lot of upside. I think Nick Miller is a future Intercontinental Champion, and I could see Shane Thorne being a future World Heavyweight Champion.
See, now I like TM61 as well, not nearly to the extent that you do, though that's not a bad thing, me trying to denigrate those guys. It's just showing the variances in degrees. But all the same, I am elated that this program is happening. I think it keeps the Revival fresh, who have just been on their A game. And TM61, I think, took a major step up in the division with their work in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. So I think what makes me most excited about this is it's maintaining the momentum that was created during that tournament for TM61. And I think this is going to raise their babyface stock. It'll keep the Revival's heel stock, kind of in that upper echelon. And whatever happens after San Antonio between Authors of Pain and DIY, You know, you could have TM61 ready to, you know, challenge Authors Pain again, because you already talked about the story that was there in the Dusty Road Saturday Classic. Or if you want to go back to the Revival, I mean, those guys to me are so good and they've been so dominant that they can take losses and still be consistent fixtures in the title picture. They've got security is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, all around, I don't see any losers in this feud.
Yeah, like the only downside with TM61 is I feel like we don't see them enough. And because of that, I feel like they really haven't gotten an opportunity to really get over. Because if these guys were wrestling a match twice a month and they were putting on the classics and the freaking great matches that you and I both know they're fully capable of having on a week-to-week basis, or even like every 2 or 3 weeks rather than like once every 2 months, which is kind of what it feels like they're doing, I feel like they would be getting over much faster. And we even have people in chat saying, "Oh, they're good, but I'm not into them," and that's a problem. But again, about last week, not for what they are. That's why I'm so excited about TM61, because I see so much upside in both these guys. Shane Thorne.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both these guys have a bright future. I do agree with you. Shane Thorne seems to be the better of the two. And if anybody can really make them a more prominent fixture in the tag team division, they're working with the best team in the world right now, in my mind, in the Revival.
Exactly. And that's another thing that I wanted to point out too. I don't know if you noticed or if any of our fans noticed, but if you actually watched this interview, the Revival are like a little league tag team compared to these guys. These guys look like grown men compared to the Revival because of the massive size difference. Like, if you would have just seen this interview where these guys were standing next to each other, I would have guessed that the Revival were like 5'8" and 5'9", and that these guys were like 6'3". Well, the size difference. And that's another thing that gets me excited, because it's like the short, squat little like guys who, by most definitions, would be little midgets, but they're so charismatic and they're so good at tag team wrestling. I don't think either one of those guys is ever going to be a singles champion. Going to be one of those teams that goes down as one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Oh, absolutely agree. And I think what makes that an interesting dynamic is we'll really get to see them chop down the Redwoods, you know, negate the size advantage that a TM61 has. It's kind of like I was saying about Nikki Cross against Kennadi Lewis in the preceding bout, you know, in the first match of the night. It's like they'll be able to work like badgers, just really beating these guys down. And we kind of saw that on display tonight, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But yeah, this feud should be fantastic. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, you say this feud, but I don't know how much longer this feud is really going to go. This might be like a 2 or 3 match program that ends by like February.
And if it does, hopefully TM61 get the rub and they're able to move on to the title picture, you know. And I do think that's kind of the stage where the Revival's at in their career. They've done everything they can do in NXT. I think the only purpose they can really serve, which is a worthwhile purpose, would be enhancing other tag teams. Like, okay, TM61 gets this win over us. Now they have a claim to an NXT tag team title shot because they beat the best team in NXT, if not in all of the WWE. So,
yeah, I freaking love it, man. All right, so after this interview, we get to and this is where I'm going to end up complaining. But before I do, I want your opinion on the match: Roderick Strong versus Steve Cutler.
You know, I thought it was serviceable. You know, I just thought it was, you know, Steve Cutler, he's a jobber at this point, and I feel like it was a great exhibition match for Strong, just in case people haven't yet to be acclimated to the idea that he is in NXT. You get to see him on display here. I was really kind of looking past this. I am so looking forward to Roderick Strong's work with Almas. But for the match, I mean, it was what it was. Strong got the win, and there's nothing more I can really say about that.
Yeah, I freaking love Roderick Strong. Like, to me is like an American Cesaro without the accent. Like, the always how the act to American speaking, also that Roderick Strong is the accent. I mean, they have like basically similar levels of charisma. They're both ridiculously good in the ring. They're both amazing athletes. Roderick is probably close to being as strong as Cesaro. Look at, because he's got some of the freakiest like ridiculous, like borderline farmer strength I think I've ever seen. Like freaking Kevin Owens back in PWG used to call it FRS, and originally it was meant to mean freaky retard strength, which is offensive as hell but hilarious if you know it's coming from Kevin Owens. But it actually evolved to mean freaky Roderick strength, and that's a thing. Like, I'm not making this up. He is freakishly strong for a guy his size. You saw, didn't he and Austin Aries actually have a match against the Authors of Pain at one point?
I don't believe they did, dude.
I feel like I remember one point where Roderick Strong was in the ring with somebody like that size, like one of the Authors of Pain or like a Damo or someone who was like huge, and he just lifted him up and threw him like it was nothing. I remember this happening, but I don't remember who it was against, unfortunately.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Roderick Strong's always struck me as a hell of an athlete. You know, we've commented multiple times on his endurance, just how he's able to go and go. I mean, I think the guy, when you look at it...
Endurance is another thing he has in common with Cesaro, though, too, because you look at Cesaro, and he's the one that will tag in and then, like, run up and do the uppercuts in all four corners and then run to the outside and do a freaking double stomp on someone's chest and then get up on the top rope and do a crossbody into the ring. Like, that's the kind of thing I could see Roderick doing, too, but the difference is he doesn't have an accent. Like, this guy is so big, and he's not even, like, your typical indie midget. He's, like, 6'1". He's, like, reasonably tall guy.
So when you think about Roderick Strong from a bodily standpoint, from the idea that he doesn't have the X, I mean, do you see a world champion in Roderick Strong in the WWE? Like, if he was to go to SmackDown Live, could you see him holding that title?
Honestly, as much as I think he's deserving of it, and because I know how good of a champion he is based on his work in PWG and Ring of Honor, I don't think that they'll ever raise him and elevate him to that height.
Because, yeah, I do agree with you on all counts. He certainly deserves it. He's PWG work, put him on my radar. I became a fan, I think, through his PWG work. And, yeah, that's why I'm so stoked about this feud with Almas, because I feel like those two could really have the underrated match at San Antonio. Like,
I mean, the only issue there is that Roderick is going into that as the babyface.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you know, he's not a bad babyface. We just know what a good heel he can be.
That's right. It was Otis Dozovic and Tucker Knight, and he just lifted one of them and threw him like it was nothing.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was a great moment for Strong, for sure. Yeah, he's a freak.
Thank you, Paul William Gregory, clutch in the chat, letting me try and help us out and reminding us who it was. That is awesome. But yeah, Roderick is amazing. Andrade... Frickin' Andrade, man. I can't wait to see what he does in a takeover environment with this heel, basically Los Ingobernables gimmick.
Dude, I'm telling you, you know, I usually make risky predictions every year, and 2017 with the things I'm already thinking about is going to be no different. And one prediction I'll tell you right now, if there was anybody I'd bet on that could really break that bubble of like this oversaturation and getting a world title run, I could see Andrade winning the NXT championship this year. I don't know how. I think it'll take a hell of a lot of effort, but if anybody can pull it off, he is just feeling himself right now as a heel, which is why I'm so excited for this match as well. Not just because they're two brilliant workers, but because I could really see it being a catapult to really either guy to bigger and better things. I am so stoked for this program.
And I love it too. I'm so between these guys at TakeOver San Antonio next Saturday is just awesome, and I hope we end up with just out of this too.
Absolutely. I mean, Roderick Strong even said in the post-match promo, you know, his only focus is the NXT championship. Who's to say that he doesn't beat Andrade and the next program he works is for the NXT championship? Yeah, exactly. So we'll see.
Oh man, we've got, dude, next week is going to be so freaking stacked because we have NXT TakeOver preview predictions, Royal Rumble preview predictions, NXT live reactions, and Royal Rumble live reactions, all from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, that's crazy. And we have Q&A on Friday, too.
Oh, my God, is that next Friday?
That's next Friday, yeah.
And tomorrow, we have to do a Ring of Honor Final Battle review, too.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
we have a stacked next 10 days, you guys. It's going to be ridiculous. 11 days.
Yeah, for all you diehard TWitWoW fans, it's Christmas all over again, and we just got done this past Christmas. It's gonna be
And you know
insane all the
what?
content we have coming out.
While we're kind of in the process of talking the TwitWoW product and not just talking about NXT, I wanted to put this out there, you guys. We have a volunteer, that being Cliff Amal. He has offered the compilation of the funniest moments of TwitWoW from 2016, but he can't do it alone, and we don't have the time to help as he needs. So what we're going to say is we want you guys, we want the TwitWoW fan base to post in the comments section after this video is uploaded and processed what your favorite funny moment from TwitWoW 2016 was. And if you want, you don't have to, but if you want to save some time and effort, you can even go back and link the video and put a timestamp on it so we know where the clip comes from. Again, that part is optional. If you don't want to go to that extent, just tell us what your favorite funny moments were from TwitWoW 2016. We're putting together a compilation, and it's probably going to become the channel trailer. That's something we've wanted for a while, is a channel trailer. We haven't had one. And Cliff is basically offering to help make something that can kind of be that for us. So any help that you guys are willing to offer in the comment section, funniest 2016 TwitWoW moments, would be much appreciated. And that being said, John, let's move on, continuing to talk about NXT. Up next, we've got an Ember Moon interview, which, as I believe was already mentioned, gets interrupted by Liv Morgan.
Yeah, I like this. I think this promo serves to kind of reorient Ember Moon in like the plot of like the NXT women's division, and the goings on in that division. She says whoever emerges from the fatal four-way when that dust clears, I'm going to be coming after them, for the championship. Liv Morgan interrupts, and she seems to have a bit of a swagger about her. Says, look, I know you had my back and everything, but you and I are both after the same thing, NXT women's championship. And I feel like I've come a long way since losing to Asuka in 20 seconds. And I just want to challenge you. I think we should have a little scrap, she says. And they shake hands, but Ember warns Liv, I hope you bring your best, because after you've been eclipsed, I'm going after the NXT Women's Championship. So I like this, one, because it brings Ember Moon back into focus, which was a huge talking point for our review last week. And Liv Morgan, who, whether you love her or hate her, I just really like the idea that another woman is being developed. I'm not really the biggest fan of Liv Morgan, but I am happy to see her get time. I am happy to see her be a component of a fully realized, fully fleshed out division. And their match next week should be interesting. I don't even know, I'm kind of feeling like, is Liv Morgan going to turn heel? Is she going to lose and she's just going to take her frustrations out on Ember Moon, or is this going to be a respectful contest? But I like that I have that intrigue. So good talking segment here.
I feel like Liv Morgan is just Alexa Bliss without the facial expressions.
I guess a case could be made for that. But yeah, she's just still kind of making her way. I'm just happy to see Ember Moon on my TV, though. That was really my focus.
Hell yeah. I love Ember Moon, man. And that was actually announced later on in the night, right before the contract signing, that we will be getting that match next week on NXT TV.
Yes. And see, I like that, because again, it's fleshing out the women's division. You've got the four women and Kay, Royce, Asuka, and Nikki Cross all fighting for the title, but you've got these two outliers fighting to get in that picture after the fact. That's how you build. So really cool by NXT.
You know what, too? I got to give NXT props, because their women's division is extremely shallow once you go past those six. It's like those six and then nothing after that.
Right.
Really, it is. I mean, if you think about it, you've got Asuka, Kay and Royce, Nikki Cross, Ember Moon, Liv Morgan, and then Mandy
Aaliyah.
Rose, maybe, I guess.
Mandy Rose, Aaliyah. Who's
but
the
like
other
nobody who's fully blown ready.
Exactly.
Like I would even argue nobody that's NXT TV ready. Like Aaliyah is decent, but I wouldn't call her NXT TV ready. And really, when I say NXT TV ready, I don't mean don't ever have her on NXT TV. I mean just don't give her any kind of push. And you can use the non NXT TV ready talents as to kind of put over the already established or people you're trying to establish talents. You know, like having people like Aaliyah lose to like Liv Morgan or Ember Moon or whatever. But like you look at Aaliyah, Daria Baronato, Mandy Rose, all of them have a bright future, I'm sure. But right now, they're not ready.
Exactly. I would completely agree with you, and really nothing I can add to that. I think you
And I would
articulated it
even
perfectly.
put Liv Morgan on like the border there. Like she's, you know, she's kind of there, but if they would put her back in the Full Sail system and get her a little bit more ready, I don't think anyone would complain except maybe her.
Certainly not, you know, and we just want everybody to get better. And I do agree with you about her being on the border, but nothing much I can really add to that. I feel like you articulated perfectly. So let's move on.
You're ready to talk about the best segment of the night?
Sure. We're talking about Tye Dillinger, right?
Right.
What'd you think about this?
I loved this. This was wonderful. And I think this was the segment of the night, as I already said.
Yeah, you know, I mean, Tye Dillinger did great work here. I loved his sense of crowd control isn't necessarily the word, but he kind of made the crowd a part of him.
I would say crowd control. Whether you wanted to say it or not, I would definitely say crowd control.
Right, because I loved how they said at one point, you know, like Royal Rumble number 10, like doing that whole chant. And he said, yeah, you know, I've thought about that too. So even like acknowledging the crowd, but not in a way that impedes the momentum of the promo. I thought that was great by Dillinger. Yeah.
Can I say something that I want your opinion on?
Certainly.
Tye Dillinger is better at what Dolph Ziggler does than Dolph Ziggler as a babyface.
Now, when you say what Dolph Ziggler does, do you mean just the completeness of Dolph's character? Is there anything specific that you want to compare and contrast?
The role,
like when you say,
the role that they fill.
Oh, yeah, certainly. We've even said that once Tye Dillinger comes up to the main roster, if I'm Dolph, I start sweating bullets a little bit because Tye Dillinger could easily take my spot, and I don't think anybody would really have kind of a visceral reaction to it. If anything, the reaction would probably be, wow, what an upgrade.
I wanted to emphasize as a babyface because it is too lovable to have that heel like fury that Dolph has had lately.
Yeah, as a heel, I think Dolph's really starting to find his way again, and I've been enjoying his work, including what he did this past.
Been better as a heel, though.
Yeah, certainly. Whereas Tye, it's funny because when you hear the gimmick, right, when it hits the ear, oh, the guy's perfect. I mean, that naturally comes off as heelish, but the execution, it's like, nah, man, this guy's way too likable. I can't boo this guy. And this promo really exemplifies that fact. Because he just, I mean, the crowd is so behind him. There may have been like a few straight people being like, no, or, you know, whatever. But the majority of the crowd was like 10, 10, 10, don't give up, all this stuff. And the guy knows how to command an atmosphere because when Sanity comes out and Eric Young, you know, makes this this offer for Dillinger to join Sanity because he's like, man, you know, I know how you feel. You're confused. You know, you didn't have it before, but you could have it. You could have everything that you want. You just got to run with us and do things our way. You know, Alexander Wolf, he presents the jacket the first time. Tye Dillinger, he takes it and he throws it. That I thought would have been the catalyst and the brawl would have ensued. But Eric Young persists. He really tries to convince Tye Dillinger, like, hey, man, I've been where you are. I thought the NXT fans, you know, I tried to do it their way. Didn't get me anywhere. Now I'm doing it my way. I'm doing it our way. I'm offering you that same ticket. Picks up the jacket, puts it in Dillinger's face, and he said, well, just to make sure there's no confusion, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you that this is the way. So pretty much saying, like, you've got no choice. You are joining us. And I love what Tye does here because you can really feel the tension and everything in the environment. He takes the jacket. He looks it over thoughtfully. And really in an age where we've seen Bray Wyatt and now Randy Orton most recently run with the Wyatts, like, I think anything's possible, whether it's a long con by a babyface, them just saying, I got to try something new. I wouldn't have been surprised if Tye put the jacket on. But what he does with it to me is so much better because he drops it and in that same motion does the 10 pose in Eric Young's face. I mean, it's just a great moment. And it's one that really shows this guy knows how to, you know, maintain that babyface momentum, how to keep the crowd's interest. And he's able to keep Wolf and Young at bay for a while. And he's about to nail the tiebreaker on Young. But then Damo with a spear and then just pretty much ripping off Kenny Omega's finisher from my vantage point. And then, you know, takes the jacket, poses with it, and there's your new Sanity in full finally. But yeah, great segment again for Tye Dillinger, no doubt.
I know Big Damo has been using that one-winged angel for a while. I don't know if he started using it before or after Omega started using it, though.
All right, well, I guess the debate is kind of out there. I mean, I guess I just really associated with Omega, so seeing Damo use it was just weird. But all the same, I mean, great segment for everybody.
Yeah. Calls it Ulster Plantation, or at least he did in the Indies and in the UK.
Interesting. Yeah, well, I mean, it's an interesting image seeing a guy that size doing a move like that, you know? So, I mean, it does work. It was just weird for me to see. And, you know, from this, we got the announcement that Young and Dillinger are going to have a match at TakeOver San Antonio. I love how at the last TakeOver, Dillinger worked with Roode, and now he's working with the other big TNA Canadian guy in Eric Young. I just find that very, very interesting. But yeah, it should be a great match between those two.
Yeah. But still, Tye was awesome in this segment. I feel like I don't want to go on another big, long Tye Dillinger is awesome diatribe, so I won't. But what I do want to say is that I feel like Dillinger has Daniel Bryan-like upside, and
Yes.
I'm horrified that that upside is going to be precisely what keeps him from ever reaching the main event on the main roster, because chant that's super over, and there's actually been a rumor floating around that that's exactly why he hasn't been called up and why he might not be called up, because Vince doesn't want 10 chants to hijack shows.
Isn't it a little late for that? I feel like it's already kind of happened, don't you?
Well, it's being as sort of oppressed as it can be, and it kind of scares me that they're gonna kind of use that as an excuse to never really do anything with Dillinger beyond NXT.
I don't want to invite a rant by saying this because, you know, we are in the midst of the review here, but it still confounds me that in a business that's predicated on you being popular with people, you get punished for being popular with people. I'll never really wrap my head around that. But
I think the punishment is more for getting a chant over more than getting yourself over.
yeah, but really, is there much of a distinction? Because, I mean, if you birth the chant, isn't that a part of you? I mean, Austin with the what chants, that was a part of his King of the Ring promo.
Well, that
So,
might be what the conclusion that we jump to using our logic, but it's pretty clear that Vince and the brass in WWE think that a chant can get over without the person that started it being over.
yeah, I mean, I guess there's some merit to that because I guess Bobby Roode would be the best case for Vince's side of the argument, but all the same, like
What do
it
you
really.
mean?
Well, I mean, the whole glorious thing. I feel like the term glorious and all that is more over than Bobby Roode as a heel performer. Just like we said, the theme is more
the
over than he
thing
is.
is, he's not over as a heel performer. He's over as a face performer for the most part. That's the problem.
Yeah. I don't know. It just all I know is it really sucks for Dillinger if that is the case. But the only upside would be
To me, like if I had any influence whatsoever, I would give Dillinger basically the Dolph Ziggler 2013 spot, where he's kind of this scrappy mid-card underdog who maybe in like most matches he doesn't have that great of a win-loss percentage. The cards are all on the table when the chips are all in, when he needs to either pull it out or suffer greatly, he manages to put on amazing performances and pull out huge wins. And I would use that exact sort of storytelling device to push him to the main event, because he's a merch machine. Make 10 shirts and watch the thousands and millions and probably a lot more than that roll in, because the dude is a merch machine. He is a freaking license to print money. And all Vince sees is, I don't want another damn what chant.
yeah, and really that myopic kind of vision by Vince and company is really tragic because I agree with you. I mean, Tye Dillinger is money waiting to happen. He's at the very least a solid mid-carder waiting to happen with the Intercontinental title. I've always said I felt like Tye Dillinger could be one of the best Intercontinental champions of this generation. And beyond that, but I'm just trying to be realistic at the same time. And really the only positive I could see from this is he will have an extended NXT run, whether or not we think he deserves better. And I do think he should be called up. But that would tell me that hopefully he would get the NXT championship, presumably off the waist of Robert Roode. So, them culminating their feud.
I still have hope that he'll debut at the Royal Rumble, but I have zero hope that he'll win anything in it.
Well, here's my thing. I'll actually go one step further than you. I could see him debuting at the Rumble, but I could see them doing what they've done in like past cases, although I don't think they've done it recently, to be fair. He debuts at the Rumble, but that doesn't mean a debut on the main roster. He could easily go back to NXT and just continue his work there.
Oh, so just like a one-time Rumble appearance like Sammy a few years ago.
Exactly, yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah, sadly, you were probably right. And even though you're probably right, if he does show up at Rumble, I'm still going to get my hopes up way too high.
Hey, that's what he wants you to do. That's the magic of being a great babyface, is they make people believe, can he pull this one out? And that's what makes him so good. So can't fault you for that.
All right. So next, after the big Damo attack on Dillinger and Damo sort of joining SAni, we get, like you said, announcement Dillinger versus Young at TakeOver, and then our third match of the night, TM61 versus the Revival. Solid match, lots of trash talk. Didn't go on for nearly long enough, in my opinion, but hopefully that's a tease at more matches between these teams in the future. The finish was when Dawson was going for that leg submission on Miller to set up Dash Wilder to go up to the top rope and do the jumping stomp to break the leg, or I guess tear the MCL, since that's what they did to Cass. But Shane Thorne grabs Dash by the leg, and Nick Miller rolls Dawson up for the win. So TM61 picks up the fluky win over the Revival, and I just love these guys. And John, what did you think of the match?
I thought it was a really clever way for TM61 to win, almost Revival-esque to me. It's almost like they out-Revivaled the Revival.
Almost like they're an amazing actual tag team, rather than all the thrown together tag teams that the Revival has faced.
Yeah, really. And it's so refreshing.
If you think about it, dude, Ciampa and Gargano have been a tag team for like no more than 2 years. Jordan were together for no more than 1 year when they beat the Revival for the tag titles. On the other hand, though, Miller and Thorne, these guys have been teaming for over a decade. These guys are an established. These guys have actually been together for longer than the Revival, which is the crazy thing.
Yeah, certainly. And it's so refreshing to see two actual tag teams, going at it. Not the Revival and DIY haven't had their classics. I mean, for God's sakes, Toronto was match of the year for so many people.
But at the same time, Gargano and Ciampa are also two of the best, wrestlers on the planet on an individual basis.
Exactly. I will say too that I'm actually quite relieved. See, I didn't say anything to you while we were watching it, and I'm glad I didn't, because I think it was a false alarm. But I had read a report somewhere that I think it was Shane Thorne, or was it Nick Miller? I'm just going to assume they said Shane Thorne was injured, and that was going to impede this program. I think they conflated this beatdown, which is just a kayfabe injury, with a legitimate injury, and that this program is going to be just fine, much to my relief, because I'm really looking forward to these two.
Don't you hate that? Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I got so nervous watching it, because I'm like, okay, when's the injury spot? When's the ref going to throw up the, the X and everything? Like, I was waiting for it. And then when it didn't come, obviously I'm happy, right? Because I'm like, oh, thank goodness this program's kept on track. But I'm like, God damn it, be more careful with your reporting. Because, I mean, injuries, especially after, this past year, very serious.
Asking dirt sheets to be more careful with their reporting is like asking Fox News not to have a Republican slant.
That's true. I mean, that is very true. But yeah, I thought the beatdown was effective. Love the trash talk. And again, these are guys that can take a loss like they did tonight in the Revival, and I don't question their credibility at all, given the body of work that they've built. So that's what I think is so great for TM61. They can come out on the winning end of this thing, but it doesn't make the Revival look any weaker to me. So that's what I'm really hoping for, that, maybe the Revival wins the rematch, but then the third match, TM61 wins. They move on to the tag team titles. But for this first match, not bad, because it definitely got in the Revival's head, and now we have a chance to make the feud more personal, which I like.
Oh, yeah. So then, after the post-match beatdown, we got a couple announcements. Andrade versus Roddy at San Antonio. Ember Moon versus Liv Morgan next week. But then we get to our contract signing. Shinsuke Nakamura and Bobby Roode. And sadly, the network cut out right as Nakamura was about to deliver a punchline. But other than that, this went fairly unimpeded. So, John, what do you think of this contract signing, brother?
You know, I actually like that Roode kept to his word. He assured Regal at the very beginning there was going to be no physicality or this and that because, you know, on the marquee it says Roode Nakamura, and that's a money match. And he doesn't want to taint any of the money being printed, you know, by giving away too much too early. So I actually like that he kept his word. I mean, that's weird for a heel to do because I was waiting for him to tag Nakamura when he had his back turned. But one, Roode didn't. And two, even if he wanted to, Nakamura, you know, was just looking at him the whole time, so he didn't even give him the opportunity. As far as the content, I mean, not really much you can say. Roode's whole thing is that he's glorious, is that he's here to elevate NXT, and he says how he's all of this. And Shinsuke, I mean, you're all of this, but you have no style. Makes fun of his haircut, makes fun of the way he dresses, which, I mean, let's be honest here. They are elementary heel insults, like it's heel insults that anybody can do. But I do like Roode, and I do think he has a certain charisma to go along with it, so I liked it. And then Nakamura, even though I don't think he should be speaking extensively at all, because I think he has a mystique that's just so marketable. When he does speak, to his credit, it's funny. It's in sound bites, and that too has a charisma to it. He compares him to his type of Japanese dog, which the crowd starts chanting at Roode, so that just shows again the charisma, instantly getting that over with Full Sail. And Roode sold the frustration. Shiba Inu. And yeah, the crowd started chanting that at Roode, and Roode was just looking like he was ready to blow a gasket. And then Shinsuke took glorious from him because he said, you know, when I beat you at San Antonio, it will be. And the Roode's like, don't you do it. No. Like he was like freaking out, like he was straight up apoplectic. Just like, oh, is he going to steal my thing? And Nakamura does. And Roode is just like seething. So yeah, great stuff from Shinsuke, even though, again, I wouldn't really have him speak all that much. He does make it work to his credit. Roode, pretty basic heel insults, but I think there's a certain charm to like his delivery that's like, okay, that works. So not a bad contract signing at all. What did you think?
Well, before we get to that, I want to ask, do you know what I'm saying when I say Doge?
No.
The Doge meme? The dog?
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, I've seen those.
That's a Shiba Inu.
Okay.
Well, Bobby Roode looks like that, but Nakamura sees it, so let's just roll with it, right?
I'm not going to question it.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, Nakamura tossing the glorious back at Roode was pretty great. But really, honestly, in this case, I'm not a big fan of Bobby Roode, but he was what made that, because the way that he reacted with how freaked out and how much he was screaming, like, no, don't you dare, that's mine, was brilliant. That, like, I wish people in the WWE specifically who were willing to make a fool out of themselves to get the other guy over.
And I think that's not necessarily a necessary ingredient, but certainly one that's very serviceable in being a successful heel. That's why I think Regal.
And you know what? I think that's another one of the reasons that I dislike Charlotte, because she never lets anyone get one over on her like that.
Right. Kind of the same qualms, at least in my opinion, that we have of Stephanie. Like, it's very rare to me that she'll look like a fool. Yep. Instead, she'll just always emasculate other people. But, you know, Roode just...
about that with Stephanie because of how great her father always was at letting other people get one over on him.
Exactly. And what I love, too, because I'd be remiss if I didn't say, Nakamura stealing Roode's catchphrase was preceded by Nakamura cutting off Roode when he tried to deliver it with a hand to the face, which just immediately brought imagery back to me of Rock Jericho. When Jericho did that to The Rock, and then he turns the hand around and he does the just bring it. So I really like that. So yeah, Nakamura. Yeah, Nakamura creating great atmosphere, which is what we expect him to do because he's one of the best in the world right now. And yeah, I mean, this the contract signing served its purpose. It made me more interested in this match. And we'll talk more in depth about it when we get to San Antonio preview and predictions.
Whew, we have so much freaking stuff to do this coming week. I think, you know what? I think since we don't have a Raw or SmackDown review until the week after the Royal Rumble, we should probably do our NXT or our Royal Rumble preview and predictions after SmackDown on Tuesday night. And then we can do our NXT preview predictions on Thursday night so that we have a cleared kind of path for Q&A on Friday.
That sounds perfect to me, dude. I'm totally on board with that.
So Royal Rumble preview predictions after SmackDown on Tuesday. For San Antonio preview predictions on Thursday, Q&A Friday, TakeOver San Antonio live reactions Saturday, and Royal Rumble live reactions on Sunday. It's going to be a crazy night.
Absolutely. With that said, is there anything else you want to say about this contract signing before we move on?
I don't think so. But guys, I can't believe how stacked our next 11 days are now. This is crazy. I think this is the end of the NXT review, though. So if you want to move us on to our next segment, let's go.
Yeah, high spots and low shots. Just going to keep it short and sweet. My low shot is Tye Dillinger, because even though he stood up for himself and had a phenomenal promo, he took one hell of a beating. Big Damo making his presence felt, newest member of SANity. But Tye Dillinger does have a chance of redemption at San Antonio if he can beat Eric Young. We shall see, but for now it was a rough night, so he is my low shot.
Well, that's fair. I'm not going to complain too much about that. My low shot, though, is going to have to be the Revival, because even though they got kind of a petty revenge after the match was over, they are officially on a 2-match losing streak now, having lost to DIY last week and TM6 won this week. So apparently they're really good unless their opponent's tag team name is a combination of numbers and letters.
Hey, that rationale seems perfectly sound to me. My high spot, you know what? I'm going to give it to Nakamura, because even though it was just a contract signing, he got a psychological edge in my mind over Robert Roode, and he just continues to show why he's the most charismatic performer in NXT, if not in all the WWE right now. So Nakamura is my high spot.
Oh, yeah. And my high spot is Roderick Strong, because A, he's awesome, and B, first singles takeover match coming up not this coming, but the following Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. So, partner, I completely agree with that. I'll let you handle the first part of the outro before I take us home.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you check out a bunch of our social media stuff. Twitter, I'm at apond404. That's APOND 404. John is at John_TwitWoW, and that is John with an H, not just JON. It's JOHN_TwitWoW. Be sure to check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/TwitWoW. Leave us a like if you want. Otherwise, just check in periodically if you are not interested in, keeping up with the YouTubes, because I know not everybody goes to YouTube every day. Facebook, another story. Most people are on there. If you are on YouTube, though, make sure to subscribe to make sure that all of our videos come to your subscription box, assuming that's still working. I know YouTube is a little bit wonky. If you want to help us out on this video, and after it gets uploaded again, leave a comment. But specifically, since we're trying to get a little help here, leave a comment of what your favorite funny moment from TWitWoW was in 2016. We're gonna get Cliff Amal, one of our fans, one of the members of the #Scum Squad, to make a little compilation for us that we'll end up using as our channel trailer then. So if you want to help us out there, go ahead. Buy a t-shirt. We have the Scum Squad t-shirt. It is up, and #Scum Squad. It's official. If you want to become an official member of the Scum Squad, you got to buy the merch, brother. You can either get a t-shirt, you can get a hoodie, you can get a mug, you can get a sticker. The prices range from $6 for a sticker up to like $40-something for a hoodie. But either way, be helping us out. You will be supporting us, and you're going to be getting an awesome piece of merch from TWitWoW. If you're not a fan of the Scum Squad, if you kind of see yourself as a little bit more of a baby face or even a tweener, just buy the official TWitWoW tee. All you got to do is go to teespring.com/ I believe stores/TWitWoW. I'll put the link in the description. Make sure you guys get it. And is still a thing. Tomorrow we'll be doing a Patreon requested review of Ring of Honor Final Battle 2016. Make sure to stick around tomorrow night at 8 p.m. for that. And if you would like a specific review to your liking to a show that we didn't talk about, or a live reaction, or both to a show that we didn't talk about at any point, whether it was from before TWitWoW existed or it was just a show that happened that we didn't talk about, check out our Patreon, check out the pricing on that. We feel like our prices are very reasonable, and we will be sure to hook you up if you donate. John, am I missing anything? The TWitWoW subreddit, it's just twitwow.reddit.com, and you're there. That's all it takes. So now, John, am I missing anything?
I don't think you are, partner. So with that said, guys, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-word and commentary, Ashton. Guys, we shall see you tomorrow for ROH Final Battle 2016 review. Again, doing that Patreon request. And until then, guys, be sure to leave a like on this video. Help us out with YouTube's algorithm. Be sure to comment when this video is done processing our funniest moments and what you thought of this video. And until then, we'll see you tomorrow for Final Battle 2016. Tune in and peace out.